Hey guys, GradysMom here with a cooking video. This video is for a recipe which is crab meatballs, and the ingredients are all right here. As you can see, there's not many ingredients. Now this recipe you can use as an appetizer, a hot appetizer, or you can actually use it as a main entree. I've made it both ways. I've made it as an appetizer and also as an entree. Tonight it is going to be our dinner. I'm just going to make a few things on the side. So in tonight's case, it will be a main entree. Now, what I want to mention is these two packages here are imitation crab. Obviously, real crab is the better way to go. However, real crab is extremely expensive, and the reason why I'm using the imitation is because I actually already had it in my freezer. It's just all thawed out. Obviously, if I had the real crab, I would prefer that. I've made it with both the imitation and the real crab. The real crab is obviously better, but this is just fine as well. So you're going to need 2 packages. You're going to need a pound of crab meat, whether that's the imitation crab meat or regular or real crab meat. So you'll need a pound. So these are 2 8-ounce packages that I had frozen and thawed out. You're going to need some yellow or brown mustard. You're going to need some Ritz crackers. You're going to need a lemon, a large egg, some Old Bay seasoning, some Worcestershire sauce, some Parmesan cheese. You can use the fresh like this, or you can just use the kind in the shaker that most people have. And then you're going to need some fresh parsley. If you don't have fresh parsley, then you can use dried, but fresh is going to be better. And again, everything here you're going to want to use, except if you can get and afford the real crab, then go ahead and get that if you can. And also, I don't know if I mentioned, but you're going to need 1 large egg. I just have a brown large egg here. And they are super delicious for, again, an appetizer or a main dish. And I will show you guys how to make them. Okay guys, so what I'm doing now, I just have a large mixing bowl and I am just breaking up the imitation crab meat. Pretty small. It doesn't have to be microscopic, but fairly small, because like, for example, a chunk like this won't work because you're going to be making these into meatballs. So obviously it has to be, you know, pretty small. It can't be huge chunks or the meatballs just won't form correctly. So it's very easy to do. You're just going to want to use your fingers and just go through all the bigger pieces and break them up. Again, not super small, but just kind of single out any large pieces and then break them up, you know, sort of in that consistency. So they're easier to mold into meatballs. So I'm on my first package now. I'm just going to keep going with the next package and just breaking it all up like this and getting it ready for the meatballs. Okay guys, so you want to have 2 bowls here, one for the dry ingredients and one for the wet ingredients. So in this bowl, I have the 2 8-ounce packages of the imitation crab meat that I broke up. I also have my Ritz cracker, my parsley, my Old Bay seasoning, and my Parmesan cheese. So I have that all in there. And in my other bowl, I just have my egg, my mustard, my Worcestershire sauce, and then my lemon juice. So I want to whisk this, and you want to use a whisk and not a fork. You just really want to whip it like that, almost like you're scrambling an egg. But you really want to do a really thorough job of combining all of the wet ingredients really, really well, so it's all combined. And it looks kind of gross, but this is going to be the glue, and then you're going to pour this right over the dry ingredients. And like I said, this is going to be the glue to bind your meatballs. So now I'm just going to get every drop of this that I can into the dry ingredients, and then I'm going to stir it all up and then form the meatballs, and I will show you what that looks like when the meatballs are getting formed. Okay guys, so as you can see, all the wet and the dry ingredients are combined. And now we want to use our hands because that's how you're going to get the best consistency here. And you're just going to take a handful like this and just kind of work it into like a meatball shape, because literally they're going to be crab meatballs. And then I just have a 9x13 baking dish that I just sprayed with some cooking spray. And I'm just going to keep making the meatballs into the ball shape here, and then just put them in the baking dish. And then we're just going to bake them in a preheated oven at 350 for about a half hour. I would say 30 to 35 minutes. And then we are going to just top them with some melted butter. And you don't want to crab the meatballs too much because you want them to cook evenly and brown up nicely. So I'm going to do about 3 in each row, if that makes sense. And fill this pan right up, and again, get it into the oven, and then we're just going to top them with melted butter, and I will show you guys what they look like before they go in the oven. Okay guys, so here is what they look like right before they go into the oven. As you can see, I did the rows of 3 and then just 4 extras here. Had to get every last drop. And they don't have to be perfect, just try to get them the same size. They don't have to look perfect. The key is to try to get them around the same size so they all bake evenly. So they're going to go into the oven now, and I will show you guys what they look like when they're done. Okay guys, so there's a couple minutes left on the meatballs. And what I want to do now is I just want to take some butter that I've melted and just pour this just gently over the meatballs. And it's okay if it kind of makes a mess because it's all going to soak in. You just want to try to get it on the meatballs, and it's okay if it kind of goes all over because it will soak in and absorb. So we're just going to let these cook for a few more minutes, and I will show you what they look like before we dig in. Okay guys, so this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. Again, I said in the beginning, I prefer to make this recipe with real crab meat, which will run you about $10 a pound, give or take. So this is just with the imitation crab meat because it's all I had and I wanted to have it tonight for dinner. But this is what they look like when they come out, and they are super tender and delicious.